Hello, hello. Michael, great to see you. I'll wait just one more minute to make sure that everybody is able to get in. Who is pumped to learn about confidence today? Thank you, thank you. I am as well. I mean, not to learn about it, but to teach you about it. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, thank you so much for coming. I, as you may know, have started a new coaching business, and I wanted to start to just get people to know about me, looking for new clients. So I thought the best way to do that was to teach a webinar of this is exactly what I would teach you in coaching. So you're getting the full enchilada, you're getting everything completely free. Let me share my screen. I'll open up my presentation. Okay, so I'm Amber Deibert. I'm a performance coach. I work with managers at startups who need help. Basically, I can help people solve all their problems. It's the funnest thing ever. So a quick introduction. Here's our agenda for today. I'll give an introduction as to who I am. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about confidence. I'll give you all of it. And then if something piques your interest, if you're interested in continuing, I'm going to tell you about my coaching programs that I offer and the next steps for signing up for that. I promise you I will not be offended at all if you aren't here for a sales pitch. If all you want to do is learn about confidence and you're not interested in hearing the sales pitch, you are absolutely welcome to leave after we learn about confidence. So to get started, I'm going to switch back over. I want to put up a poll. So I just want to get an idea of who is here. Go ahead and answer this poll and tell me how confident you feel. And you may be a manager, you may not be a manager, but just let me know. Where are you at? Are you feeling super confident? Are you feeling like zero confidence? You're feeling kind of in the middle? That'll give me an idea of who my audience is and how to speak to this. All right, I'll give you a couple more seconds to get your vote in. All right, here are the results. So it looks like we have 3 people who said they've had some small successes, could use some work. A few people said, yeah, pretty good, no major issues. So this is perfect, you're in exactly the right place. All right, so let me pull up my presentation again. All right, so here is who I am. My name is Amber. I started out my career at a nonprofit, and there I became a Salesforce.com certified administrator. And then I went and became a certified Scrum Master. And then I was flying around the country delivering trainings about Agile. From there, I moved to San Francisco. I got a job at a company, and I was doing learning and development. We built a training program for a customer support team, and we onboarded 250 people in about a year. From there, I began training managers and helping them to learn the very basics about giving feedback, running one-on-ones, motivating their team, and transitioned then into another tech startup doing sales enablement. And I really realized, and in that role, again, I was working with managers, I was coaching one-on-one, and I was like, this is what I love doing. And I can't find anybody who can hire me to do this. So I want to just see if I can do it. So I work as a performance coach. And it's been so incredible to help my clients solve the problems that they have and help them figure out that a lot of the problems they have are within their control to fix. You don't actually have to change anybody outside of you to fix those problems. So this is who I am. So I want to ask, what is confidence? What is your, if you had to define it for yourself, what would your definition of confidence be? Oops. Let's see, I'm going to switch over. So if you want, you can post it in the, I think there might be a chat box. If there's not a chat box, you can post it in the Q&A. And I'd be curious to hear, what are some of your definitions of what confidence is? I love it. Okay. So Jordan says, a belief that I can rise to any challenge. Michael says, presenting like you're right, listening like you're wrong. I love that. That's so good. Okay, awesome. So here is the definition of confidence from my coach, Brooke Castillo. And all of this content is taken from Brooke Castillo. So she says, confidence is being secure in yourself. That's a lot like what you said, Jordan. Trusting yourself, knowing that you can experience any emotion, including failure, without being harmed. And lastly, it's your overall opinion of yourself. So exactly what you talked about. It's kind of your belief in yourself. So let's talk about the opposite of that. Why don't we have confidence? Reason number one is that we don't trust ourselves. I'm going to get into what causes this a little bit later and how we can trust ourselves more. But sometimes you feel like you're out of control. Like, I don't know if any of you read Wait But Why. The author of that blog has a really interesting TED Talk talking about the instant gratification monkey and how you might make plans and say, I'm totally going to exercise. Every morning I'm going to do it. I'm going to exercise. And then the instant gratification monkey comes in and is like, just kidding, not going to exercise. I'd much rather binge watch on Netflix. So you feel out of control. You feel like you make plans, but you don't necessarily live up to those plans. Reason number three is that we let ourselves down consistently. So we keep making these plans like, okay, this year is the year I'm going to do it. But then we let ourselves down. So we can't trust ourselves. And lastly, we're afraid to feel our emotions. So this is super interesting. I've recently learned this whole idea of emotions, that the thing that we're most afraid of is an emotion. If you think about it, think about like maybe your fear is public speaking, which for me, I actually love public speaking, so I don't totally understand this, but maybe your fear is public speaking. Are you actually afraid to stand up in front of a bunch of people and talk? Or are you afraid of feeling ashamed of yourself, feeling embarrassed, feeling disappointed? Just think about that. Think about the things that scare you the most and think about like, is that thing actually scary? For example, the other day I was making a landing page and I needed to build this landing page and I was putting it off. I kept putting it off. And I was like so scared to build this landing page. I finally wrote myself a post-it note and I said, dragging and dropping things onto a website actually isn't scary. The thing that I'm scared of is when I publish that landing page, what are people going to think of me? They're going to think I'm a complete fool, that I don't know what I'm doing, that it looks terrible, and I'm not trustworthy at all. So I'm not afraid of building a landing page. I'm afraid of the emotions that I might feel after I launch the landing page. So I want to point out that our brains are programmed to find out what is wrong. It's actually how they're supposed to work. And it's a wonderful thing because it's kept us alive to now. So they're programmed to see like, oh, that seems wrong. That seems wrong. Oh, that's wrong. So they're programmed to find all those negative things and magnify them in our minds so that we don't die. It's a fantastic thing. The problem is our brains don't always understand that public speaking isn't going to kill us, or building a landing page isn't going to kill us. It feels like a threat. So our brain magnifies it, but actually we'll be totally fine. So you just have to remind your brain of that. Okay, so I want to go into what confidence is, and I want to talk a little bit about the first one, trusting yourself. So trusting yourself is doing what you said you would do. So again, if you feel like you let yourself down consistently, you're out of control, it's probably because you're making these plans, you're making these goals, but you're not following through with them. So if you want to start trusting yourself, start doing what you said you would do. And I would start small. Pick something really small. Maybe it's that you are going to consistently drink 1 glass of water every day. Make it small. Something easy that you know you can do, and do it rigorously. So make sure that you do it every time. For me, I decided I have a tendency to agree to come to social events, and then at the last minute I'm like, oh, actually I'd just rather stay at home in my pajamas. I don't really want to go. So I decided I am going to show up to every social event that I say I'm going to attend. I'm just going to do it, even though I know as soon as it comes up, as soon as the time comes to leave my house, I'm not going to want to. But I want to start trusting myself, and so I consistently am going to show up. So pick something for you that you know you can be consistent in, and it can be super small. But just make sure that you build that consistency, and then you can build on that. So self-doubt is the opposite of self-confidence. When you don't follow through with things, then this leads to self-doubt. If you can't count on yourself, you'll feel less secure. You'll feel like, well, I make all these plans, but then I don't follow through with them. So you start to doubt yourself. So again, doing what you said you would do, you do the responsible and useful thing for yourself, even when you don't feel like it. And what I've learned is most of the time you don't feel like it. In fact, like 99% of the time you don't feel like it, but you do it anyway. And you always feel good after you did. So the last one is, we actually aren't born with self-confidence, which is kind of interesting to think about. You always see people and you think, oh, they must just be naturally confident. It's just who they are. They've always been that way. They're just kind of a naturally confident person. And I'm not like that. So we see these other people that seem so confident, and we want to be like that, but we feel like maybe there's something missing in my DNA, that's just not who I am. So remind yourself that nobody is born with confidence. You earn it through keeping your word. You earn it through showing up for yourself. And it's doing what you say you will do at the highest level. So setting that goal, setting that plan of drinking a glass of water a day, or 2 glasses of water a day, maybe go big, and doing it at the highest level. So telling yourself, this is the most important thing I can be doing, and making sure that you follow through with it. So knowing you can experience any emotion is another way to feel confident. So this is something really interesting. If you think about the thing that we're scared of most is not public speaking. It's feeling ashamed or feeling disappointed in ourselves or feeling embarrassed or whatever the emotion is for you. Once you realize that the thing that you're holding yourself back from is feeling an emotion, then it kind of is like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I can feel emotions. Actually, emotions haven't killed me yet. They haven't. I'm still alive, and I felt lots of different emotions. So once you realize that the thing that you're most afraid of is feeling emotions, and you decide that you're someone who's good at feeling emotions, then you have nothing to be afraid of. So ask yourself the question, what's something that you're really scared to do? And think about the worst case scenario. What's the emotion that comes up for you? Just think about that in your mind. So emotions are what make life bad. We spend time in self-doubt because we don't trust that we can make it through an emotion. But there's no emotion that will permanently harm you if you process it. So what I mean by processing emotion, the opposite of this is resisting an emotion, reacting to an emotion, or avoiding an emotion. So if I'm resisting emotion, like, oh, I don't want to feel sad, I don't want to feel sad. The way that my coach describes it is it's kind of like pushing a beach ball under the water. Like, you can push it down for so long and resist it. But after a while, it's just going to pop right back out of the water. You can't resist it forever. The other one is reacting to an emotion. So you feel really angry and you just let it out and you just like yell and scream and react. That typically doesn't have a very positive outcome. It's typically a negative outcome. The last one is avoiding emotions. So this is what a lot of us do. We do something called buffering. It's like, I don't want to feel that emotion, so instead I'm going to eat, or instead I'm going to binge watch on Netflix, or instead I'm going to look at social media, or instead I'm going to drink. So we don't want to feel emotions, and so we do something else that will basically distract us from feeling those emotions. And what happens is it gives us that instant gratification, and that we get a hit of dopamine in our brains. So dopamine washes over our brains and it feels so much better. Like, oh, I feel so much better. I don't have to feel that emotion. I'm giving myself this false pleasure to feel better without actually addressing the root cause of the emotion that I was feeling. So what you can do instead is you can process the emotion. So if this sounds over simple, but literally what you do is like sit on the couch, just get some time, close your eyes, and just feel what the emotion feels like inside of you. So pinpoint, where in my body do I feel that emotion? And what does it feel like? Does it feel sharp? Does it feel soft? Does it feel kind of oozy? Does it feel really fast? Does it feel really slow? Does it feel tight? Where do I feel it and what does it feel like? That's processing your emotion. You just sit with it. And the interesting thing is, as soon as you start paying attention to it, it usually goes away really quickly. It's not as scary as we thought it would be. So knowing you can experience any emotion. When we're willing to feel and process these emotions, we'll be flooded with self-confidence, because now you know the worst thing that can happen is an emotion, and you know how to process emotions. You've survived it. You've lived through it. So that takes the risk out and gives us the attitude to bring it on. So I want to talk next about your opinion of yourself. What you think about yourself generates or depletes self-confidence. So self-confidence is a feeling about yourself. Feelings come from thoughts. So if I'm consistently thinking thoughts of, I'm terrible at this, I'm afraid to fail, I suck at this, whatever those thoughts that we all tend to think, if I'm thinking thoughts like that, then that's going to take me down this like downward spiral of like feeling worse, because I'm thinking the thoughts that are causing the feelings. So a self-confident person will think, I'm great, I'm worthy, I'm completely capable, I'm strong, I'm competent. None of those thoughts even have to be proven true. They can just be thoughts. You can just think that. And when you think those thoughts, the feelings that you have are feelings of confidence, feeling capable, feeling strong, and those will help you be in an upward spiral of becoming better and better. So if this is something that you struggle with, which I know it's something that I struggled with a lot, and you feel like, well, that's ridiculous. I have so much evidence that I'm not capable and I've failed so many times, then just do an exercise. I want you to take out a sheet of paper. You don't have to do it right now, but take out a sheet of paper and write down 15 things that you admire about yourself. You might get to number 3 and be like, there's no way I can get to 15. You can get to number 15 and go further than that if you can. Just start writing down things that you admire about yourself. Your brain is fantastic at finding evidence for things. So your brain the example of this that I always give is, maybe you are shopping for a new car and you see this car and you're like, oh, that's kind of a cool car. I don't feel like I've seen that car before. And then you like leave the dealership and all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. There are too many inputs for your brain to take at any given time. There's too much going on and it can't process all of it. So your brain relies on you to tell it what's important. So you're like, oh, I like this car. And then it will go find evidence for whatever you tell it is important. So like, oh, there's the car, there's the car, there's the car. I never saw it before, but now I'm seeing it everywhere. So if you're telling your brain that it's important to feel like you're not capable, and your brain will be like, oh, there's another example. There's another example. Oh, you definitely weren't capable there. There's another example. So it's going to go out and find all those examples to find evidence for whatever you tell it is important. So what you can do instead is say like, what if I am capable? Is it possible that I'm capable? And your brain can go out and start finding, oh, you were capable there. You put your shoes on before you left the house. Nice work. You successfully checked your email and cleaned out your inbox. You're totally capable. So your brain will start to find evidence for whatever you tell it is important. So you might be saying like, okay, this all sounds great, but I don't want to be arrogant. I hate arrogant people. And I don't want to be just like all like self-important. So let me talk quickly about how confidence is different than arrogance. So arrogance is thinking that you're better than somebody else and trying to prove it. Arrogance comes from trying to create a false self-confidence by putting others down. Arrogance comes from comparing and competing, and it comes from fear. And arrogance comes from a scarcity mentality. So arrogance, somebody who's arrogant will think there's a pie, and if that person is confident and that person is better than me, then they've taken a slice of the pie and there's less pie for me. So I've got to take as much pie as I possibly can and show that that I'm better than them so that I can feel like I have more. Where confidence comes from an abundance mentality. So a confident person knows that everybody is awesome. Everybody's fantastic inherently, no matter what they do. They're all awesome. And I am too, because I'm a human. So that makes me awesome. So I want to talk quickly about beliefs. At this point, you're like, okay, I've got an idea of like what confidence is not, what confidence is. I'm going to talk in a minute about how to build your confidence. But you might be thinking like, that's easy for somebody else. That's not easy for me. Somebody else might be able to just like positive think their way into confidence, but like I'm not that way. Like I've always been unconfident. So I want to talk to you about your brain. This is a picture of the connections between your brain. So the neural pathways in your brain. So a thought is a connection between two neurons. That's all it is. It's just a connection between two neurons. The more that you think that thought, the stronger that neural pathway gets. So you can see on this picture, some of the thoughts are really, really thick. Some of the thoughts aren't as thick. So as you think the thought more and more and more, it becomes a belief. So what I talk with my clients about is the difference between thoughts versus facts. So a fact is something that the entire human population would agree on. So they could agree on the fact that I have 5 fingers. They wouldn't agree on the fact that maybe my fingers are too short or too long or whatever. I might think that, which I don't, but I might think that. And I might have thought it so many times that neural pathway gets really, really strong. But not everybody in the entire world would agree with that. So it's not a fact, it's just a thought. But once I think that thought over and over and over again, it feels like a fact. And that's what we call beliefs. You've thought it so many times that it feels like a belief. Like, no, Amber, you don't understand. I'm just not a confident person. It feels like a fact, right? Good news, it's just a thought. So when you think over, it becomes a belief. And that can work for your detriment, and that can also work in a positive way for you. If I continue to think the thought, I'm competent, I'm competent, I'm competent, or what if I'm competent? Is it possible that I'm competent? Then that neural pathway will get stronger and stronger and stronger, and my self-confidence will just become a way of being. I won't even question it. It's just who I am. Same as I might have a belief that I'm not confident. You can build that neural pathway to make it feel like a fact. The reason that we don't do this is we're so comfortable with our old thoughts. Like, I've been thinking that thought for so long. It's been with me for so long. I'm just going to stick with it, which, by the way, is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you do want to build your confidence, you have to ask yourself, is that thought useful? Is it helping me? And if it's not, then maybe pick a new thought. So let's take a look and see if self-confidence is useful. Let's take a look at the benefits of self-confidence. So the good news is, if you are self-confident, you don't have to be loud and outgoing. That's not necessarily what it is. Self-confidence means that you have no problem admitting when you're wrong and you have no problem with failing. So like, you're totally fine with it. I've been wrong lots of times, and I've failed lots of times. Look, I'm still alive. It's fantastic. So the person in a group who is the most certain of themselves is typically the person who will influence the conversation the most. So self-confidence is a fantastic way to influence others. And self-confidence is not relying on your ability, but it's relying on the belief that you can handle anything. Remember, if we go back to the worst thing that can happen is an emotion, and actually I'm like pretty good at feeling emotions. I've figured them out. I feel them all the time, and that's fine. Then like, it's all just a feeling. I can handle anything, even failure, even fear. So when you have self-confidence, you take more action, you talk to more people, you take more risks, and all of this leads to, no surprise, achieving more. If you're willing to take more action, talk to more people, take more risks, and achieve more, then you're going to be really successful. So let's finally get to it. You're totally bought in. You're like, okay, I know that self-confidence is useful. I know that what's causing me to not feel confident. I know what it is and what it isn't. Let's get down to it. How do you increase your self-confidence? Okay, so item number 1, change your thoughts about yourself. If you're thinking thoughts like, I'm not competent, I'm not capable, I've never been able to do this before, just change those thoughts. Is it possible that I could be confident? Is it possible that I could be capable? I mean, I can find evidence that I am capable in some ways. So maybe I could be capable in this too. If you feel like I was thinking of examples. If you feel like you're somebody who is not consistent, find ways that you are consistent. Do you consistently put your shoes on before you leave the house? Do you consistently check your phone when you hear a ding? That's consistency. You're totally consistent. So number 2, feel your feelings. So we're all afraid of failure, and we're all afraid of disappointment. What would happen if you were willing to feel disappointed from time to time? Maybe some cool things. Maybe you put yourself out there. Imagine what your life would be like if you were willing to feel failure and disappointment without fear. So the next one I want to talk about is understand that your identity isn't fixed. All too often we tend to base our abilities on what we've done in the past. So like, I've never been able to do that in the past. What makes me think I could do it in the future? But actually the past doesn't matter. So the evidence that your identity isn't fixed is that you aren't still wearing the same clothes you were 10 years ago. You might be wearing the same clothes that you were wearing 20 years ago because the 90s style is coming back in, but your identity changes, right? You don't stay in the same clothes. So you can change your identity. You can increase your confidence by considering the possibility of what you could create in the future. I love to think back to things that I was like scared of, terrified of in the past. Maybe it was like in elementary school or in junior high or high school or whatever. And there was something that was like really big and really scary. And I love to look back and ask myself, is that still scary? It's not. If I did it and I succeeded, like, it's not actually scary anymore. So what are those things that I think are scary in the future that after I do them, I'll be like, oh, that's no big deal. Is that cool to think about? So the more certain you are of the possibility of what you can create in the future, the more confidence that you'll have moving toward it. So I could ask myself, is it possible to show up to every social interaction that I agreed to say that I would go to? It's totally possible. What if I did it? I'd probably have a lot of fun because I actually love it after I go to these interactions. All right. Next is being willing to feel fear. So interestingly, we all hate fear. You don't have to, I'm going to read this. Fear doesn't inhibit self-confidence. It's just the unwillingness to feel fear that inhibits it. fear is actually really helpful in feeling self-confident. You just have to be willing to feel the discomfort in order to feel confident. So your willingness to feel the feeling leaves you with nothing to lose. Yeah, I'm totally willing to feel fear. I assume that I'm going to feel fear because I'm doing scary, awesome, wonderful things. And I think I'm probably going to feel some fear, and I'm okay with that. It's part of the program. Okay, the last one I wanted to talk about is to stop failing ahead of time. So many of us kind of self-sabotage, and we're so scared of what might happen if we put ourselves out there that we fail ahead of time. So I had this realization while I was in coach training a couple weeks ago. They had us write down, what is the feeling that you're the most afraid of? And my feeling was depression. I was so scared of feeling depression because I felt like if I kind of go too high and put myself out there and go really, really high, then what if it goes wrong and I drop really, really low? And then I hold myself back because now I'm feeling depression. So what I did is I held myself back in the event that later I won't hold myself back. So I'm failing ahead of time. I want to make sure that I don't fail there. So I'm just going to fail here and hold myself back just to make sure that I don't hold myself back. Isn't that so interesting? Yeah, guys, I'm nerding out. I love this stuff. Okay, so feel free to take a screenshot of this page if you want to remember how to change your confidence. So next, I want to talk about beliefs to borrow. I know that you're totally bought in. You're super stoked about this. You're like, yes, I'm going to become the most confident person. Just tell me what to think. So here are some thoughts that you can think. I was made for this. Fear is no big deal. I'm capable. The worst thing that can happen is a feeling. My potential is limitless. Failure earns success. The better I fail, the more confident I am. What are things that you failed at in the past? And you're like, oh, I actually didn't make that team, or I didn't get that internship, or I didn't, whatever. I failed technically, but like I survived and I'm fine now and I'm in a better place. So here's some beliefs that you can borrow. Okay, so nearly last, I want to tell you that one of the most important things you can do is take action. Just try it. Just try doing something that you're scared of and see if you die. You might not. You might, but you might not, especially if it's public speaking. And you can do the stuff that you're scared to do and learn by doing. So you'll know that you've made it when you only need your own approval to feel confident. So what would happen if you gave up needing approval? What would happen if you stopped worrying about what other people would think? Jen Sincero has a great analogy that I love. She says it's totally worthless to compare yourself to somebody else. What if Led Zeppelin compared themselves to Mozart and they were like, well, Mozart was super successful and he didn't have a drummer, so we for sure need to get rid of our drummer. That's ridiculous, right? But that's what we all tend to do. Well, that person is doing this thing and they're super successful, so I need to stop doing that. Or like, what if I do this thing and that person thinks I'm a complete idiot? So the other analogy that I always like to think about is, again, from Jen Sincero. She says, imagine 100 people go watch a movie. It's possible that of that 100 people, there are people at the end of the movie in tears, sobbing, thinking that was the best movie I've ever seen. It was amazing. It was incredible. I totally love it. And that there are other people in that group of 100 people who thought it was the worst movie ever, and they're at the box office demanding a refund because they hated it. What people like or don't like is totally based on them. It has nothing to do with you. So if you are doing all of your actions worrying about what people will think and worrying about if they will judge you, you're right. They are going to think things and they are going to judge you. And those judgments have nothing to do with you. So what if you just didn't worry about it? What if you were like, you know what? I'm just going to do this because I want to do this. It sounds kind of fun. It sounds kind of exciting. And people are going to hate it. And I'm going to have some haters, but I'm not going to let them hold me back. Isn't that crazy? Can you imagine? All right. Thank you so much for sticking around. that is everything about confidence. So I want to talk about if this struck a chord with you. If you're like, yes, I'm ready, I'm prepared, I want to be confident, sign me up. What I want you to do is I want you to schedule a free coaching session with me. So everybody gets a free coaching session. You can try it out. You can see like, what is coaching? What is it like? Is this a good fit? Is Amber a good coach for me? I fundamentally believe everybody needs a coach. So if you don't go with me, go find a coach. It's so amazing to have somebody show you the thoughts that you're thinking, show you the beliefs that you have, and help you find a way to change those. So you can go to this website, https://www.meetme.so/Amber Deibert, to claim your free coaching session. You'll be able to schedule them there. And the benefits that my clients have seen is having an accountability partner, somebody holding them accountable for what they said they would do. It's a very positive, warm environment. I for sure will judge you. Just kidding, I won't judge you. And with that, if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to take any questions that you have. I'm going to post a link in the chat to schedule a free session with me. Even if you don't want to sign up for coaching, but you just want a free session, I'm totally okay with that. I really love coaching people. And if there's nothing else, thank you everyone for coming. All right, looks like we have a question. Jordan, what are the big things that normally come up in coaching? Oh, Jordan, what a great question. So the things that normally come up in coaching are always about worthiness. People feel like they can't apply for that job because they're not good enough. They can't talk to an employee because they feel incompetent. It's always about like not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy enough. And we uncover all of those thoughts to figure out like what's causing that? Where's that coming from? I also help clients figure out what do they want. We don't really have a clear idea of like where we're headed. Sometimes it feels like, you know, I'm in this hamster wheel, I'm running in the rat race, but I don't know why. Like, what's the point? Why am I here? So I take clients through exercises to help them identify what is it that you want and what's holding you back from getting those things, and let's find a way to help you get there. Great question. Any other questions? Thank you, Jordan. I can't wait to see what you all do with your new confidence. Remember, just keep telling yourself that new thought. Keep working on that new belief and build that connection stronger and stronger and stronger. It's not going to feel easy at first, but just keep thinking it. All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope you sign up for a free coaching session because I would love to coach you. Have a great day.